for this?
Hello, I'm Anne-Marie Carrier. Today we're here with Mark Horner, who is the tennis director in our local community. Over the last year, Mark has been providing activities, drills, and tennis lessons on a regular basis. Hello Mark, thanks for coming.
Okay.
Mark, I read the other day in the October issue of Women's Health magazine that there's been an 11.8% increase in the number of women tennis players since 2007, which now accounts for about 5.5 million women playing the game, which is great for you. I figured then, who better than you to give some great advice to somebody picking up a game of tennis?
Well, thank you.
Mark, what do you like most about instructing tennis and helping people to improve their game?
Probably that's it. It's helping people improve their game. And it's so much fun to go out there and watch people get better at things. And when they have those eureka moments when it's like things finally work. And tennis is one of those things out there to tell somebody that it's that they hit a great shot. When it works, they know automatically, and you can see it in their eyes. They're like, "Oh, I got it!" And it's like that's the greatest thing. Yes, to see how excited people are about like learning. In general, in the sport, or probably in any sport, when people get things, it's very exciting to them because it's like something that's very competitive.
Yes, it has to be quite fun every day to be out on the court playing a game that you love. As an instructor, what seems to be the hardest part about teaching people a new skill?
The hardest part about working with people to get a new skill is really getting that person to let go of their inhibitions or their old habits. Because people will go back, and when you learn a new skill, generally at first it fails. You know, for the first 20 or 30 or 40 times, it's not going to work out well. And to get them to get past that, where it really starts to improve, because you'll take 2 steps back to take a step forward, and to get them beyond that point is like the hardest thing, to get them to understand that this isn't going to be good at first, but it'll be good later. And when they get past that, that's probably the hardest thing for anyone to learn. It's like, well, my old shot will work, I'll just go back to that. And probably one of the more frustrating things as a tennis coach is like, oh, it worked out so well last week, and then they come back and the old habit is still there, versus it being gone and then moving on.
Right, this isn't working, but my way works, so I'll try that.
Yes, that's correct.
That's some great advice, thanks. But in the game, what shot or part of the game seems to be the most challenging for new players to pick up?
Well, the shot in the game that's probably most challenging is the backhand for everybody, because it's an offside. All the other sports, golf and baseball and all that, if you don't want to hit left-handed, you don't have to. In tennis, you have to hit on both sides. So teaching them to be able to use their non-shot side. So if it's a left-hander, it's their right side. If it's the right-hander, it's their left side. Teaching them to be able to use that side and have confidence in it. Initially, when a ball goes to that side, players will take on their backhand, their forehand, they watch it really close. On their backhand, they kind of close their eyes and swing at it. Where that's part of the learning process. That's the hardest thing to teach somebody, is that it's okay on that side, and it can actually be better than on the other side. Teaching it's almost like a brand new skill.
Thanks, I've never considered that. Well, taking up a new game of tennis, what one area do you think that new tennis players should focus on most that would make the biggest difference in the improvement of their game?
The new tennis player should probably focus on their strokes. To be able to make the biggest improvement later on, is don't pay any attention to what the ball itself is doing. I mean, there's really 2 different things, a ball and then the racket. And everyone starts out trying to control the ball. And you can't, but you can control what the racket's doing. So if they understand, just like, I just want to make the racket look right, then later on their game will improve by leaps and bounds, versus trying to slow down their stroke and control the tennis ball initially. And probably the other thing is everyone wants to come out and want to start hitting with lots of power. So rather than learning to hit power first, learn to control your stroke and the ball. Just get it over the net, kind of get it going, get the right shot, and then learn power is like the very, 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 very last step of what you're going to be able to do. Learn everything else first, and then how to hit it hard.
Okay. I know that strategy plays a big part in a tennis match. So can you tell me what strategies of the game might not be evident to a new player that you would like them to know up front when walking on the court?
The most non-evident thing would be there's the area in the court that's the big area of the box, not the service boxes or the double alleys, but the other box, the back court, that's called no man's land. And initially players always stand there. You can get to every ball, but you can't hit each shot good from there. So that's probably any new player that walks out, they'll initially walk out and stand right in the middle of the court there, and that's probably the worst place that you can stand when you go out and actually play tennis, because you're going to struggle to be able to hit a tennis ball from there. So that's probably a beginning player's biggest weakness, is like where to stand on the court. Where do I go when I hit this one? And that's probably the biggest thing not to do, is stay out of that area, either stay behind the baseline or stay up at the net where you can hit volleys, but stay out of that middle court area as much as you can.
Is there anything special about picking out new gear? Any tips that we need to consider when picking out a racket or shoes, for example?
For shoes, the biggest thing is go out there and make sure they're initially comfortable. If it hurts your feet like the first time you go out and play, take that pair of shoes back to the store and try to exchange them for another pair of shoes. Don't say, well, I'll break them in, because there's a lot of shoes that either aren't for your feet, and they will hurt. Like over time, they'll make the bottoms of your feet hurt and everything. It should be, a pair of tennis shoes should be like slipping on a pair of slippers when you go initially put them on. If they're tight or uncomfortable, they give you like a little blister, don't say, I'll put a Band-Aid there and I'll work at it. It'll always give you that same spot. So just take them back, get a new pair. There's 100 pairs of shoes out there, and there is a pair that will fit you like perfectly, because everybody's feet are different. With rackets, just go out, if you're a new player, just go out and get a regular graphite racket for like $50 or $60 and learn your strokes first, because then a tennis pro can come out and take you out and get you a racket that's right for your strokes. And don't worry about like how everything's hitting, just get the stroke, and then plan on a year, maybe sooner than that, getting another racket that fits your game, because you have to find out what your game is first before you get a racket to fit it.
For power or for...
For however your strokes develop out. And you just go ahead and let your strokes swing, don't worry about where the ball's going, and then the pro will take and say, okay, you need a racket like this or like this. And once you get your strokes right, however they are for you, you can find a racket that's right. And then all of a sudden, you'll get a new racket and your game will improve by leaps and bounds. And you're like amazed, it's like, wow, you mean I should have got this first? It's like, no, we didn't know it was this. So you have to just go out and pick one, pick a pretty color. And then 6 months later down the road, get the racket that's right for you.
Okay, great. And last but not least, do you have any encouraging tips for the new player who might be struggling with motivation, too many losses, not understanding the strategy? What would you like to tell them?
Well, unfortunately, we only learn when we lose. So if you start out, you're winning a lot, you're not learning as much as you think you're learning. So when you're losing, you're actually like learning how to get that way. And eventually it'll become, you'll get to a point where if you're losing, but working on your strokes, it'll get to a point that when you start winning, you're going to continue to win. So as you go out and lose, just think, I'm going to learn something from each loss I do. I'm going to get better and better. And then as I get better, I'll start winning. It becomes frustrating to go out there and lose each week, but you'd be surprised how much better you're getting when you're losing. Versus when you're winning, you're really not getting any better.
So instead of thinking I'm losing, thinking, no, I'm learning.
Yes, exactly. I'm learning as I'm going through in each match. I learn a little bit more, and I'm playing people maybe that have more experience than I do. So I'm just gaining my experience. Not really losing, learning. That was a great quote. Can I use that?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Well, Mark, thanks so much for being here today. We appreciate all of your great advice, and thank you so much for listening in, and I hope you've learned something valuable about picking up a new game of tennis. Have a great day.